Hello, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. I'm Samaddar, and this is Extraordinary America. What is Extraordinary America about? You see, American identity is about freedom, the opportunity for a better life, and the pursuit of happiness. Welcome to Extraordinary America. Welcome back to the show, my fellow Extraordinary Americans. For today's guest, we have Dr. Kamin Samuel. Dr. Kamin is a business advisor, entrepreneur, speaker, and author. She's an international rapid transformation coach, guiding executives and business owners and coaches in growing their careers and changing their lives in rapid time. She has a unique gift for transforming limiting beliefs and behaviors for clients to be more decisive, communicate more effectively, improve executive presence, and create strategies to influence organizational change. Dr. Kamin has the distinction of being the U.S. Navy's first female African-American helicopter pilot. Having served as Global VP of Website Operations at a billion-dollar company, she has a background in information technology, web development, online merchandising, and PhD in positive neuropsychology. Dr. Kamin is an award-winning and best-selling author of several books. Her most recent books are the Conscious Luck Workbook. She co-authored with Dr. Gay Hendricks, New York Times bestselling author, and Wealth Creation for Coaches, co-written with Steve Chandler. Dr. Kamin is now a filmmaker. Her documentary film, Courage to Thrive, will be completed in 2024. She serves on the board of Educare Foundation, a large after-school program provider in Los Angeles, as well as the president's advisory board of the USS Iowa. She has been featured in newspaper and magazine articles such as San Diego Veterans, Pivot, Thrive Global, and LA Parent. She's an extraordinary American, and I'm glad and honored to have her on the show. Dr. Kamin, are you here?
Yes, I am, Cosmos. Thank you so much. It's so good to be here with you.
Thank you, Dr. Kamin, for taking the time to do this show with us, and I'm really honored that you're here. I wanted to ask you, I know, can you tell like the audience a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got started?
It's a big question. I'll try to give you the high high level of the answer is I did spend 9 years in the Navy as a Navy helicopter pilot, flying the CH-46 helicopter. And then I had always wanted to be in business. There was something that has, even when I started the military, I originally thought I would go towards a business track of supply corps and learning how to do business in the military. But aviation was the path that came to me. And then when I left the military, it was to be in business for myself. And I failed miserably. I failed ended up in bankruptcy and foreclosure of two homes. Even wanted to, not survive that mess that I had created and I reframe mess now. And then because I loved computers, I learned HTML and got a web developer job at a prominent company and grew my career that way. And then went to another company as an executive in e-commerce. And so that bug to work for myself was always there. And an ability to help others was always there. And so about almost 13 years ago now, I left corporate and went and began working for myself as a coach and have been doing that ever since, and now doing some more entrepreneurial things as well.
So, Dr. Kamin, like, what was your strategic vision, like, from the time you were in the army, like, and what made you want to do business of all things, and then you ended up in corporate America, and then from there you became like a business coach. Like, how did your strategic vision evolve over these period of all these years?
I'd love to say that I had a strategic vision. So I didn't have one. So I went into the Navy like I was graduating from college, and it was in a first semester, and my mom was like, "What are you going to do with your life?" And my mom is very structured oriented, and I was like, I think I'd like to go in the Navy. She's like, why? And I was like, I really wanted to see the world. I wanted to travel. I didn't want 2 weeks of vacation. My dad had been an entrepreneur, so I think partly picking it up from him that I wanted to have my own business, but I knew I didn't know enough to do that coming right out of college at the time. And so having a strategic vision, it was more I would do yearly visions of, especially after I got out, like, or as I was towards the end of my career, thinking like, what do I want to create from here? Like, what do I want to experience? I knew I wanted more education. I knew I wanted to help people. I actually thought about going to, I was in college, I was med school. I was pre-med. I didn't do well in that. So I had to go liberal arts degree to finish. And so I considered going into psychiatry or psychology coming out of the military. But then I also grew up on computers. I'm older than I look, so I've been there since the first personal computers were created. And so that really fueled me. And then getting my dream job at the time was Gateway Computers, and working my way up through there. And so each year I kind of kept recalibrating what that strategic or what that vision was of what I wanted to create in my life. And so it's more of knowing that it had to include, I'm always doing something with computers. I'm always doing something to help people. That's kind of as broad as I had it. How I would do that kept shifting over the years.
So, Dr. Kamin, one of the things that I noticed is that like a lot of people, like they when they come out of like the military, or even like they basically it's like a very structured mindset. Like they create like a regimented, structured mindset. And we already know that business and entrepreneurship requires adaptability and doing things on the fly. So, my question to you is, how did you manage to have like how did your mindset evolve, like from coming to the military to doing business, and what would you advise other military people that are interested in pursuing entrepreneurship after they leave the military?
Oh, you have great questions. So first of all, you're right. I went from structured to working for myself, and that's part of the reason I failed, and ended up in bankruptcy, was because when you're used to everything being taken care of, so I'm being paid well, my housing is covered, even when I got my master's, I was paid a full-time salary. Everything was, medical, health, all of that is handled for me. So I leave there and go directly into working for myself, and it was a mess. I was a mess. I went into sales. It's not the organization's fault that I went into. It was I was not in alignment with it. I just chose whatever came to me first. And so I didn't know how to structure my day. I was also used to only talking to military people. And so you have a certain lingo. It's easy to talk to people that way. And coming out of there, now I have to talk to the civilians who are messy and in their mindset, and like they don't follow
I didn't know we
rules.
were that messy.
coming coming from the military, it felt very messy and unstructured, and now I have to have a conversation to find commonality with somebody that I have nothing in common with that I didn't think at the moment. And so I had to learn those skills, and to be honest, I had to fail. I really had to fail and rebuild myself, because I realized that it's actually the words I was saying to myself were the reasons I was going to fail. I predicted my failure. I had expected the military to pay me a lot of money when I came out because I had saved up all my vacation, and I was expecting a full paycheck. And when I went there to get my paycheck, it was a fraction of what I needed or what I expected. And I remember saying out loud in the moment with great energy, I'm going to have to file bankruptcy. Like, I don't remember having that thought before, but fast forward 14 months and I had to file. And it was because I didn't have, the best way to say it is I didn't have my roots in place to know how to be an entrepreneur, to take care of the bills, to handle things when I'm fully 100% responsible for the bills and making money. There was no extra money. It wasn't like I had a pension or retirement coming in. There was nothing. And so it was all on me. And so your second part of your question is, what would I advise somebody coming out of the military is to use everything that is at their disposal. The transition programs that the military has now are much different than they had when I was coming out, because so many people have failed. And so there's training programs, there are apprenticeship programs, there are different ways for people to learn their craft and then practice it before they leave the military. And that's normally for those who are retiring. And so the more that they can realize that they're going to be responsible for taking care of themselves and start to live into that while they have the cushion of the military there to support them, the better.
So, Dr. Kamin, one of the things that I wanted to ask as a continuation of this, because yeah, I've actually talked to a lot of like military people that became entrepreneurs, and they're always saying that it's like the transition is one of the hardest things, right? And it's really hard to like transition, and like with doing that time in entrepreneurship, like that transition was like one of the things that they had to tackle. But my question is, how did you overcome this period, this dark time when you had to go through bankruptcy and foreclosure of two homes? Like, this is one of the hardest things that people could ever endure. And it takes a certain mindset to overcome it. Like, what was your mindset through these times and how did you get out of it?
It's again another good question. I think one of the things that happened was there was a weekend where I got the bankruptcy notice, the foreclosure of two homes, and an IRS audit all within a few days.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and
Wow.
it took my breath away. That's when I considered not surviving. That's when I was in the kitchen and I look across the kitchen, I see the knives, and I'm thinking, like, I could end it right here. Right behind that thought, Cosmos, was this thought of, wait, I created the bankruptcy by rehearsing the bankruptcy. If I rehearse suicide, if I rehearse not being here, it's gonna have a momentum and take over. And it's going to result in something I'm not sure I want, as something permanent to a temporary situation. And so this ability for me at that moment to realize, I am blessed to have gone through the military, and we were taught a lot of military mindset. The Navy pilots, we had to learn how to compartmentalize whatever is going on in your personal life does not go in the aircraft. Like, you put that aside, that goes into a little box, you can handle it when you're done. And as a former flight instructor, I used to teach that to my students. They'd come and they might be crying, their boyfriend or girlfriend had broken up with them. I'm like, that goes in the box. We're about to fly. Bring it together. This is our mission focus. So I think for me, being mission focused is a part of my success. The other thing that on that day with those knives looking across the room was, I knew that I couldn't play with the thought anymore. So I knew it was going to come in, but I knew I couldn't rehearse it. I couldn't think about it. I had to pivot my mindset immediately. The third thing that I knew that that if I could create the bankruptcy in my mind, I could uncreate it. So part of it was like, well, how do I replace the thoughts with better thoughts? How do I not succumb to my mind and the mind rehearsing things that I didn't want it to rehearse? I knew enough to know that I had to feed it new thoughts. And so I literally went on a quest. I read books. I went to the library. I was broke. So anytime somebody asked me, could they buy me a gift, or it was a birthday or a holiday, I'd ask for bookstore gift certificates. And I'd spend hours in the bookstore in the self-help section, learning and reading and buying the one that resonated with me the most. And one of which was the Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. And it has a spiritual approach, and it's really about how do you shift your mind. There's a passage in there that I've used in all of my books pretty much, as just using the word wealth and what would that feel like? So I started using those tools to start to figure out if this is not where I want to be, and I lost the home, I had to live on somebody's couch, I had to, I rented a room, and so it was just like mayhem and embarrassment and shame. I had to figure out how to crawl emotionally up and start to create a new future for myself.
Wow, Dr. Kamin, that this is so intense and insane. But I want the audience to know this because this is basically how you come back and attain success. You have to detach and realize you're not your mind and you're not your thoughts and you're not your emotions. You're like the awareness behind it, and you have to be able to transform that through your will. And that's what you did. You took a step back and you observed and you became aware of your thoughts. In a certain way, I would say you disidentified with those thoughts and then you started altering it, which is something that 99% of the people are not doing. We are all running in these thought patterns and it's just going, and these are all destructive thought patterns that we have in ourselves. And it's just, as you mentioned, it's like a momentum. And the more you think about it, the more emotions you give to it, the more it fuels it. But we can also change it and we can choose what thought. And that itself is so liberating, Dr. Kameen.
Truly, because a lot of people will tell me, well, it's just my thoughts. And I'm like, yes, and we get to control those thoughts. We actually have more power than we know that we have. And we get to reconstruct those thoughts because um, we want to start to focus and pivot towards what we want to create. What is it that is calling us? What is it that's inside of us that's trying to get out that we can answer and move in that direction as soon and course correct? We're going to have to do it 1,000 times a day sometimes, Cosmos, because we are inherently negative as humans. We have a negativity bias, which is designed to protect us from and keep us alive. It's our survival mechanism. What we don't realize is that we allow the mind to think of, oh, I've got a money challenge, and it puts it in the same box as a tiger is chasing us. Like money is going to kill me. No, it's not. It's actually just money. It's just energy. Money is simply just energy. So if we begin to flip that switch and see, oh, I have the power to control what I focus on, and I have to do it. I still have to do it because whenever we're growing, whenever we're reaching for something new, that negativity bias comes in because it's designed to protect us. And so we just want to make friends with it. There's no tiger. There's nothing here that's going to eat us or kill us. We just need to take a step and make it more familiar and make it more familiar to us. And then we can move forward.
So, Dr. Kareem, from your perspective, what do you think does most of the people do when they have their thought patterns and everything? And what is the steps that they can take to start developing these habits to master their thoughts? Because I think this is a very important conversation.
Mm. It's one of my favorite conversations and the favorite conversations with my clients. And what I write about is this idea of what are you rehearsing? We have to wake up to, like I did, like, oh, I rehearsed the bankruptcy. I created the bankruptcy. Where are my thoughts right now? I'm rehearsing. I'm not enough. Somebody told me that I'm not a good anything. Like I wasn't good in school. I'm not good at math. I'm an introvert. I'm a Cosmos. I love to tell people, look, I'm a hermit level introvert. Most people can't see it because I'm also what I call a situational extrovert. I grew up in a very public family. We had a lot as kids. We had to show up. We had to smile. We had to talk, regardless of what was going on in our world. But left to my own devices, I would be on an island by myself and my husband that I would choose. And so this ability that we over identify in our thoughts with anything like I'm not enough, and generally I am not enough is the thing that that hinders most people. I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't know enough. And so what people can start to do is first wake up to, what am I rehearsing? What is the predominant thought that I'm holding each day? I can't make money. I like to say I specialize in helping coaches kind of right side their businesses, and entrepreneurs right side their businesses, because something is out of alignment if they're not able to make the kind of money that they want to make, right? So we want to first see, what is that thought, and then change that thought. Change that thought to something that is more helpful. I don't know enough. Is that true that you don't know enough? Especially with coaches, many times they just need to be a step ahead of somebody else to help that person up. That's all we want, is to help the next person behind us. I'm not good enough. Is that true? We want to question those things at rehearsing, and then say, wait, I am enough. I'm actually enough. And many times I have my clients take whiteboard marker or lipstick and write on their mirrors, I am enough. I have it at 11 o'clock every day. My watch tells me I am enough. I keep the thoughts in front of me and move forward. I was working with a client this morning they have a small business. They have to do performance reviews. They've never done them before in a concerted way. And they were like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I'm like, okay, so let's work on that, because I've been in corporate, I know how to do it. By the end of working on that with her, she's like, oh, I can do that. I'm like, yes, right now, the first thing we have to do is give them an idea of, give them the assessment of how they would rate their performance. Then we get it back, we review it, and then we go forward and create a talking plan with them about what's next. And so the more we can start to realize, oh, this is unfamiliar, because what most people will say, I'm scared to do it. And the truth is, it's just unfamiliar. Once we start to put some familiarity behind it, we get training, or we learn something and put it into action, it actually calms that negativity bias down.
Dr. Kamin, like, this is great, but one of the things that, as a devil's advocate, I would have to for a lot of people that would say, right, like they call themselves the realists. Like, whenever like you like want to confront them, they're like, I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just being realistic. This is how the world works and everything like that. But let's say you have like people like that. Like, how would you respond to people like, because what you're saying is absolutely true about changing a thought patterns. In order for you to achieve anything, you have to have those thought patterns and the belief that I can do it. A lot of people, and I'm saying this because this is what's preventing them from doing entrepreneurship and business in the first place. They don't think that they can do it, and they think that that's them being realistic. But what would you have to say to something like that?
I'm laughing because, my mother, I love my mother and she's amazing. But she's like, we weren't meant to be entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And so when I failed in the first time, of course, it was like, oh, I've just lived into that. Now, since then, I've also found out that many of my great uncles and my grandfather were entrepreneurs. And I like to say they're eminently unemployable. Some of them were eminently unemployable, because they were also great thinkers, and they didn't fit into a box. So the realists who want to hold on to that, I'm going to say realistic, because I can get caught in that too. It's like, there have been people who told me, well, it's the economy. The economy is bad, so I can't do this. And I'm like, is it the economy, or is it what we believe about the economy? And so
Whoa, you gotta say that again, because that is actually pretty profound. It's our
is it
belief
the
system.
economy? Yeah. Is it the economy, or what we believe about the economy? Right? It's the same thing. Is it, for me, 4 years ago with the pandemic, almost to the week, right? The is it the pandemic that is going to take us off and fail our business, or how we think about it? I stopped all of my clients that week that the world shut down, and we pivoted. The ones who had brick and mortar businesses, professors, studio owners, whatever, we flipped them online. The coaches, we shifted their mindset, because it is all mindset. It's what we believe about what's possible. Now, for those realists who are, they are double down on being realists and what's possible, I also say, let's test it. Don't trust me, test it. What would you like to test? We can create a vision of what we want to create. I want a business. I want a coaching practice. I want to be prosperous. I want X. The vision is one thing. The strategy is going to change. What took me almost out, Cosmos, was that I thought I was a failure. When my business failed, I over-identified as a failure, not knowing, I wouldn't learn this part for decades, that the strategy failed, not the vision.
Wow.
The strategy has to change. So if we separate failure into testing and experimenting like a scientist, like all the great scientists of the world, they've failed at a lot of things.
Thomas Alva Edison failed 10,000 times.
10,000 times. But the truth is, it was like he's got his little notebook and it's like, okay, experiment number 133 did not work. Experiment number 144. We can depersonalize our actions, our strategies, and not take it personal. I was working with some coaches this last week, and I'm like, I was working with them on their fees. I said, you don't actually have to have an emotional thought about what you're charging. It's the skills that you're bringing to the table that warrant that fee. That's it. Most people, you asked also what else takes entrepreneurs offline. Most entrepreneurs and coaches, those kinds, they get stuck in, am I worth it? Not are their skills worth it? That's the right question. Do I have the skills to charge what I want to charge? Not inherently, am I worthy enough? And so the more we pivot to data, and part of the reason I have a PhD in positive neuropsychology was I wanted the science behind all the woo-woo stuff that I know. Like the mindset is like, oh, like attracts like, right? What you think about, you bring about is this, I'm in a new resonant pool. I'm going to attract those that resonate in that vibrational pool. Everything is energy. So a lot of times what we have to do for those people who want to become entrepreneurs is think from the energy of an entrepreneur, energy of a prosperous coach, energy of whatever they'd like to create. And that starts to inform us and raise our vibration, raise our resonant field, that we start to hear and learn new things that are going to support that new awareness of what we want to create. Suddenly an email shows up that is exactly what you've been thinking about, a program or a book or whatever. The only thing, and this is something I have to work with a lot, is I'm a high level learner. I love to learn. I have to move from learning into action, and I have to constantly work at flipping that switch and move into action with my learning. And that's something that I have to reaffirm and commit to on a regular basis.
So, Dr. Kamin, what you're saying is absolutely true. And like that is how you deal with the realists, and especially with the last part. Other than this, what do you think was the biggest limitations that like your clients, like during your time coaching clients and also people in general, what do you think is the greatest limiting belief that people have in general, and what should be the step to overcome that?
I think the greatest limiting belief is fear of rejection, in addition to I'm not enough, right? The next one is fear of rejection. And the fear can be like something bad is going to happen to me if I fail, right? And so many times I'm asking the question, so if you fail, then what? Well, then I'll lose my business. I'll have to lay off my employees. Okay, and then what? Well, then I'd have to start over again. And then what? I'd start over again. And then what? Who are you now that you started over again? Do you think you'd make the same mistakes again? And they're like, no. Okay. So yeah. So we don't actually have to go there. Let's change and learn in this moment from here. Because my prayer has always been, I don't want anybody to have to go to the level of depth that I went to, and to learn from here and just say, look, like something is off. So I love right-siding coaching practices and businesses, because when we're not making the kind of money that we want, and we think we've been believing for it, we've been focusing our mindset every day, then something is out of alignment. For me, I was when I started, vision was to be in business. Strategy, I picked a sales company, not my thing.
Mhm.
Those are not that I couldn't have done it. I did it fine for a little bit, but what I really love to do is help people and love to see them thrive and grow and learn and be the impetus for them to move to their next level. And I was always doing that. And so this ability I also have people who are like, well, I don't know what I want to do. I want to do something, but I don't know what I want to do. A lot of times I'll go to those age ranges between 7 and 14 and ask them, what did you want to be there? The one challenge with that is with the military. Many times the military people will put those hopes and dreams in a box in order to serve their country. And so for, however long they're in, up through 20 plus years, it's their dreams have been in a box. And finding ways to open that and giving them permission to dream again is an interesting process.
Wow. So, Dr. Kamin, like that is really interesting that you mentioned about all the limitations being the fear of rejection and then the fear of failure. Like we're coming across these different things, and everything that you're saying is true about how to overcome it. You have to switch, you have to take control of the narrative in your mind, and you have to perceive things and believe things in a certain way. But one of the greatest things that I realized, right, like in my time, like interviewing different entrepreneurs and also meeting different people, is that they want to change, but their environment, their families and their friends have that negative mindset. So it's like the crab in a bucket mentality, where like they are now starting to transform and they're in their infancy. Like it's like a sprout and they're starting to have these different beliefs. But then the people that they care about the most are still living in the old ways of doing things. So
Yes.
like I know when it comes to like acquaintances, it's possible to just like let them go and everything. But when it comes to like family, close friends, and everything like that, what do you think somebody should go about if they want to create this new mindset and this new narrative in their minds?
One thing that for me, so when I wanted to be an entrepreneur again, when I'm leaving an executive salary, an executive job to go work for myself again, my family had a lot of fears, a lot of worries. Like I'm going to create the same mayhem financially that I did the first time previously, decades earlier. And so I protected the dream. I protected it. I
Right.
protected it. I didn't share a lot about it. When I had conversations with them, I would tell them, oh, things are going great. And I'd move on. I didn't talk about it too much. I'm learning, I'm growing. Are you making money? Sure, yeah. Sometimes it might be a little bit of money, but it was money. And so this ability to protect the dream and it's really this ability to create a bubble around the dream and around your mindset, And that's sometimes where you might have to get up early in the morning and focus your mindset before the family gets up. I also, I call it, staying away from landmines in the family.
Oh, wow.
That
The
anything that talks
landmine
about
beliefs. That's the first time I'm hearing this. I never heard this, but it's so true,
stay
you know?
away from those, because like if you're at a family gathering and they want to talk about business, or they want to, bring up your past or anything like that, just move on and focus. People love to talk about themselves. Get them talking about another topic. Yeah, we're doing great. Enough about me. Tell me more about you. And so this ability to really start to bring, to cocoon it, so that, because people want to, they don't mean to bring you down, but it's safer if you're with them than if you're out in the world doing the great things. And so what we want to do is just hold it closely. Don't share a lot until you get moving, because it's not even that they're worried about you, they're worried about them. They have their own fears, and they're projecting those on you. So the ability to protect it and care for it, and get off the topic. Don't overshare about your challenges. Go get a coach, get a peer coach, get somebody to work with, that then you can take to them the challenges that you're having. Do your best not to share those with your family, because they're they're just they just want to make you safe, and they will reflect your worst nightmares sometimes. And so we want to be mindful of that, and so that's just an opportunity. Same thing when I work with executives or people who are growing their corporate careers. It's the same, do be excellent at what you want to create. And then, as you start to open up and share, and see success, you might let them in a little bit. But it's really about protecting what's coming forth from within you.
I mean, it's pretty true. You have to protect your dream. And the people that are more likely to nip it in the bud actually happen to be the people sometimes that are closest to you. And for people that are listening to this, you cannot let that happen. If you have a dream, you got to cherish it and create a realistic plan of achieving it. Because if you don't achieve it now, when are you going to achieve it, right? But Dr. Kamin, speaking of dreams, like on a national level, we have something called the American dream. But most Americans now feel like with stagnant wages and inflation and debt and all of that stuff, they feel like it's going out and out of their reach. From your perspective, what do you think should most Americans do in order to retain and protect the dream that they have and like attain what they want to achieve in their life?
The first thing is for them to think it's possible, to really see the possibility. If anybody is doing it, they can do it. I tell this all the time. If I can be successful as a coach, and I am, anybody could be successful as a coach, because I truly am a hermit level introvert. Talking to people is anxiety ridden when I'm in a new social setting. And I've just had to learn I have 3x5 cards of questions. Where did you grow up? I had to train myself to do that. So if people are thinking in this American dream, it's not possible for any reason, I'm going to challenge that, because there are more people actually thriving in new ways. AI is changing things, and people might say, well, AI is going to take my job. It might. You're going to have to pivot.
I
You're going
actually
to have
had a I actually had a conversation with somebody the other day talking about AI and automation and all of that. It was yeah, it was pretty interesting.
It's interesting. And it's an opportunity for us to learn and grow, and kind of get above where our mindset is now, to see the landscape. I have held, and I used to say this a lot, especially during the pandemic, is this is the most creative time in history. We need more inventors and innovators, and people who can support those innovators and inventors, people who support, who are coaching and guiding people in their mindset. One of the principles of coaching and mindset work that I have is, if a tennis player has a box full of coaches, when they're on the national stage and the international playing stage, why would we regular humans not need a coach? Why? Because we always need someone outside of us who believes in us and champions us and to some degree holds us accountable for taking action in the direction of our dreams.
So, Dr. Kamin, like what you're saying is pretty inspirational, and it is actually true. So, in today's political climate, especially like for the year 2024, we have with elections and all going, a lot of people seem to be on both sides in a negative mindset. But we as entrepreneurs and business people, we know that mindset is everything. So, from your perspective, how do we create on an individual level, a positive mindset that can counteract all the negativity that is around us?
One thing we can do is live our dream. If we're focused on our dream and helping others and being of service to others, then we have less time focused on the negative and us versus them. You know, there's a phenomenon when there's a national tragedy that it doesn't matter what race, creed, color, political party you're in, everybody rallies. We can do that without a national tragedy. We can do that at any moment to be of service to humanity, to be of service to each other. And so the more that we stay focused on positive and seeing good, it's that story of if somebody moves to a neighborhood and they have only negative experiences, they're going to replicate that again. But if you move to another neighborhood and you've only had positive experiences, you're going to replicate that again. So in any given moment, we want to shift and pivot our mindset and realize, oh, what am I listening to? I don't watch the news. I don't want to really talk about it too much because it can throw me off, and it has me focus on something that I actually can't control. So what can I control? Well, I could control talking with you, being of service, talking with my clients, helping my clients thrive to new levels. I love working with people on their money beliefs and what they believe is possible about their business, their opportunities. So if they think that there aren't opportunities, go create an opportunity. All the jobs that I had growing in my corporate career, I created the job description for. They didn't exist. I was like, I'm ready for a promotion. What would that promotion look like? And I'd write a job description and then present it to my boss, and he'd say no. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll live into that until he sees it. And a few months to 6 months, maybe even a year, he saw it, and then I got promoted and a raise. As a coach or a business owner, same thing. This ability for us to see we have the power to create our circumstances. All we have to do is move the needle just a bit and move the needle a little bit more. Be of service, create something, innovate on something, design something, and share it. Share whatever is in our heart to share.
Dr. Kamin, you couldn't have said it better. Like only when we change ourselves and our surroundings around us, then we just do the little part that we can do, and then others are doing the same. That will create a national transformation of positivity because it's all about mindset. It's all about transformation. Like we as entrepreneurs, we know that is the key, right? And yes, you're right. We should not listen to the negativity on both sides because they get their power through fear, and we should strive to change our lives on a personal level and then do it for the people around us. And
Yes.
so, Dr. Kamin, I know that you wrote these two books, Conscious Luck Workbook and Wealth Creation for Coaches. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about these two books and the premise of how you wrote them?
Yeah, so these are books 4 and 5. So Conscious Luck Workbook, this book came out of reading the Conscious Luck book by Gay Hendricks and Carol Klein, who are both New York Times bestselling authors. And so when I read it, I literally couldn't put it down. And when I put it down, I'd go buy one for my clients, because it's all about, again, how do we consciously create luck in our lives? And we actually coined a phrase called luckifying a goal. How do you, like, if we have an idea that we want to create, there's three questions we can ask ourselves. So whatever it is we want to create a new business. How is that goal meaningful to us? How does it light us up? And how does it benefit others? When we can answer those three, whatever we're creating, whether it's, like I said, a business or a coaching practice or becoming a teacher or corporate, whatever it is we want, how is it meaningful? How does it light us up? And how does it benefit others? That gives boosters to our goals, that allows us to thrive in new levels. My last book, Wealth Creation for Coaches, I got to write with Steve Chandler, who's called the godfather of coaching. And he wrote with another gentleman, Rich Lippman, the prosperous coach. Steve, I've had the brilliant opportunity to work with Steve for over 10 years. And Steve tells you a lot about prosperity coaching, of being a prosperous coach, but he didn't say how. I'm a former flight instructor, so I'm always about tactical, like, what do you do next? And what do you do next? And so this one is really a workbook to take people, and entrepreneurs love this book. Entrepreneurs love Wealth Creation for Coaches because it deals with mindset. What are you rehearsing? What do you need to believe? How to design your career, breaking through the money veil. And where does wealth come from? So these two I love, and really they're really this opportunity for us to shape our mindset in a whole new way about that we are where luck comes from and we are where wealth comes from. We have to just shift how we think about ourselves and our possibilities.
Well, that's amazing, Dr. Kamin. I would definitely recommend my audience to check these books because it's really this is what we need. We need to have a mental transformation, know what narratives we're putting in our minds, and it definitely helps with success. And Dr. Kamin, I know you're now doing a documentary film called The Courage to Thrive. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about this?
Well, thank you for asking, because the Courage to Thrive really came from the Wealth Creation for Coaches. It's really this idea of, how do I get these principles to everyone, to people who would never maybe know who I am or work with me. And the film is really, it's a universal story, and it's really about women under earning and undervaluing themselves. And it's told through several different women of color, an African American, a Native American, and an Army veteran Hispanic woman, who all of which are extraordinary women. And it follows along, and I'm working with them on redefining and rewriting what success means from the inside out. Now, the lens is through these stories, but I think it will resonate with everyone of, how do they start to take a step-by-step approach to increasing their wealth and success from the inside out, to create greater fulfillment, freedom, and impact in the world.
That is amazing, Dr. Kamin. And Dr. Kamin, how can the audience connect with you and get to know more about you and the work that you do?
You can go to my website, kaminsamuel.com, and learn more. All my books are there. And there's a lot of opportunities. If somebody was an entrepreneur or a coach wants this book, there's a wealthcreationforcoaches.com, goes directly to my website, but it has a lot of videos. So if they buy this, make sure to sign up for the downloads, because I created a whole background area for people to learn how to enroll, how to talk with people, how to set up, because most of the time when you're moving as an entrepreneur, you're isolated. And so coaches may not always think of themselves as entrepreneurs, and vice versa. This idea, though, is I have a whole section on client creation time. How do you start to talk to people? Where do you get ideas so that they're not coming up with them from scratch, but they're really starting, like there's a checklist of things that they can use on a daily basis so that they can get their business moving, and there's step-by-step approaches of really how to grow your business. And this for whether you're new, I've had really seasoned coaches, multi-six-figure coaches who really found it useful to be able to stair step into their next level. We don't want to leap in so much as really start to look at, oh, this is who I am and I can do this, and really giving themselves positive messages as to that.
That is awesome, Dr. Kamin. And Dr. Kamin, I thank you so much for taking the time to come to this podcast and sharing your wisdom, because you actually honestly, like, even though I've heard this from a bunch of other entrepreneurs, like coming from you, like it puts a fresh perspective on how important your mental state and your mindset is when it comes to success, and how it can take you out of even the darkest of times. Like it's all about having the right mindset and having the right thought process, controlling your narrative. And I'm so grateful that you took the time to like explain about limiting beliefs to me and the audience. I do hope that you come back at a later time.
Oh, well, thank you. Anytime. I'd love to come back. And I just want to say to entrepreneurs, whatever you are dreaming about is dreaming you, and we need you out there. Just test it, keep working at it, get the learning, and keep moving forward, because we need whatever you are trying to create.
I mean, totally, Dr. Kamin. I couldn't agree more. And I want to conclude this episode by letting my fellow extraordinary Americans know that, hey, look, there's an extraordinary within each and every one of us. It's our duty to awaken it and unleash it. Until next time, bye for now. Hey everyone, thank you for watching Extraordinary America. If you like what you see, please do subscribe to our podcast and share it with others. Remember that the best investment that you can make in your lifetime is in your own financial education, for it is knowledge that truly sets us free. Also, remember that inflation is diluting your purchasing power, which in turn increases financial bondage. The practical thing to do is to protect the loss of your purchasing power and invest in precious metals or the right cryptocurrencies. Lastly, never forget that you are an extraordinary American. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.